Welcome to A Vision for Las Cruces. I'm Pam Wolf here today with candidate for mayor Mike Tejas. And we have a special guest today. Her name is Tanya Ackerman. And Tanya has a story that relates quite a lot with one of the points that Mike's been talking about for the last few weeks. We're going to revisit a serious issue that Las Cruces has to face every single day. And this last weekend we've had a couple of front page stories about the issue of mental health struggles that we have from people who live here, and they live here without support. Many of you may have seen the tragic news story about the young man who attacked a driver who was just stopped at a stoplight in Las Cruces, and he had a knife and he was stabbing at the driver, and the driver protected himself. The man ran away, but police were able to find him. And when they found him in his apartment, he was crying out for help and saying, just shoot me. I'm a soldier and I've been trying to get help and I haven't been able to get help. I need help. Just go ahead and shoot me. I just give up. I just quit. What a tragic and sad circumstance. We deal with things like that in our homeless population. We deal with things like that. These days we're finding situations like that happening in the school system and in families, and it's a problem that crosses economic lines, it crosses racial lines. This is a difficult place to be. If you have a loved one who has, for one reason or another, become involved in the use of illegal drugs, because once they're addicted, it's really difficult to find a way out unless you have the right facilities and the right programs that they can turn to with people who really know what they're doing. So today, Mike has invited in Tanya Ackerman, and she has an incredible story. Mike, if you will, talk a little bit about what we're dealing with today.
Yes, Pam, like you talked about that tragedy that happened, that was on University, where our university is, where our kids are driving up and down that street. That event happened there. 11 years ago, we sat at a forum, and it was before the election, and we were told our soldiers who are coming back, they don't have the necessary treatment for PTSD. They said, we need a facility to treat these soldiers. They also said in order for a soldier to get help with PTSD, he needed to be arrested and incarcerated. What a shame that this soldier who did this atrocity last week, look what he had to do to get the help he needed. He had to go attack somebody, put someone else's life in jeopardy. We're just, it's just fortunate that the person that was attacked was able to defend himself a little bit, or else we would have possibly had a death on our hands. Then they go to his door and start banging on it to find out that's one of those soldiers we were talking about in 2008. This crisis is not new. This is something that has been brought to the attention of people running for office for 11, 12 years now. It may sound redundant how many times I talk about the need for long-term mental health and substance abuse. I talked to a couple of officers. I've talked to a couple of people that work in that field, and they told me one leads to the other. Mental health will lead to drugs. Drugs lead to mental health. Drugs are used to self-medicate. We need to understand that the substance abusers and the mental health people, they're not people you can look at and identify. Once upon a time, drug users, we could identify them because they were a part of society that stood out. Let me tell you something, and please understand this. This person could look like the very child you have in your house right this minute that you cannot understand. You'll call it misbehavior. You'll call it laziness. You'll start asking, where did I go wrong? Why is my kid so lazy? You know what? You may be looking at somebody that is crying out for help in mental health or substance abuse. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about it and try to give you a snapshot of how to identify these problems if they're in your home. Tanya, what a story you have. Your son, military, grad student in college, and it all started with what?
He had his wisdom teeth pulled about 10 years ago, and they prescribed painkillers for him. And after the prescription ran out, he started getting it on the street, buying it on the street. And it escalated to, after that, heroin use. He had told me the reason he started doing the heroin is because it was cheaper. That was the only reason. So he first became addicted to the painkillers, and then it went to heroin. And then when we found out about it, he went to a treatment center because he was former military, and it was just not for very long. And he did really well, and he got clean. And then after that, he worked at jobs, but he would relapse. He had relapsed over the years, and he tried very hard. And then the last year, he was doing really well. He was working again. He lived with me, and I had gone, it was for Easter weekend, and I had left out of town. And like I said, he was doing really well. And I said, I'll be back. And then when I came back into town, I found him, he had overdosed on heroin.
So you went home?
And I went home, and I tried calling him, and he wouldn't answer his phone, and I didn't think anything of it. It was Sunday, Easter Sunday. And then when he didn't answer my phone by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I went home to invite him to dinner, Easter dinner that we were going to have at a restaurant. And then I unlocked my door, and I noticed something different, and I saw the light in his room, and I was talking to him, and I thought, well, he's in the bathroom. He had taken a shower. And I was talking to him. When I didn't hear him respond to me, I knocked on the door and still didn't hear him respond. And then I tried opening it, and it opened just a crack. And I saw his hair. And I immediately knew, since he struggled with drug addiction, that he relapsed. And I called 911, and they kept me on the line till they got there. And they got there promptly. And they escorted me outside, and then within 10 minutes, they came out to tell me that he had died. And yeah, it took a couple hours after that, and we had to stay out of my house. So it's heartbreaking.
Tanya, since I've met you, I have not yet once talked to you where I didn't see the tears in your eyes.
Yeah.
You live with tears in your eyes every day. You live with that horror. That moment is just ingrained in your head, and
It is.
You can't get it out of there.
And I was doing some banking at his bank one day because I was looking for resources out there. And a teller at the bank had told me, well, there's a person that has it's called an opiate task force. He started. And I said, well, and he gave me your name and number. And I said, okay. And then I called you to find out, because I was looking for anything to help. And that's when I met you. And I went to the opiate task force on Thursdays at the Dream Center. And that's when yeah, that's when I got to know you, and I've been attending it ever since.
Yes. And you know that you see the parents in there struggling. You
Yeah.
see a lot of the signs that they're talking about.
Yes.
You've added a lot to it because you know the identifying signs. When these parents, including myself, when we talk about the struggles we're going through with our kids, you see the path that is they're headed for.
Yes.
If something isn't done, there was no long-term treatment available for your son. Nothing, no place. It was 1 week, 2 week, 30 days at the most.
Right.
You could not get long-term treatment.
No, there wasn't anything available anywhere in New Mexico. I looked around. I tried to get him into the what was the name of it? I had told you earlier.
The one in Espanola?
Yeah, the one in
Yes.
Espanola, Delancey Street.
Yes.
Because I heard that was a long term for a 2-year, but that was meant for people who have been imprisoned and then they can do some of their time there, and they didn't offer any treatment there. It was just a place to go live, and it was a whole different thing. And he went with me, and he interviewed, but he didn't meet the criteria because it was meant. My son, he was a graduate student. And, so he wasn't under that umbrella. So it didn't,
So again, we see the incident last week with this GI who lost the only way he could get help was to commit a horrible crime. Now he'll get the help, and they'll probably accept him at the facility in Espanola because he will be incarcerated. And again, that is what we have to do to get these people help, to be incarcerated. People who want to get help just so they don't get to that point, there's nothing here for them. That's one of the reasons I have talked about long-term treatment for mental health and substance abuse over and over and over. Every forum I've been into, I keep on crying out.
Yes.
We need mental health, long-term facility. I've talked about how I talked to the president, CEO of La Clinica. I've spoke to the police chief. I've tied together how 92% of our crime is tied to that.
Yes.
We could get our crime in order if we can help these people get off that. At the forum on Wednesday, once I finished, I mentioned mental health and substance abuse 3 times. Well, at the end, a judge went up to me and she told me, it breaks my heart to see so many people go before me with exactly the issues you're talking about. I hope to God you can get something happening in that area because I'm seeing them and it's hard to throw them in jail. But I know that's the only way they're going to get the help.
I really feel if my son if there was a place for him to go to for long term, I really feel it would have made a difference. He needed treatment more than what he got. He only got short because he was prior military, so he would go to the Peak in El Paso, but he was up. He didn't have to stay there, so he would only go for a week or 2 weeks, for not long enough. But there was nothing in the whole state of New Mexico.
Mike, we know that this problem is significant, and I am so sorry for the situation that you've been through. But I think about how many other people in Las Cruces have been through similar situations. Mike, one of the things that makes your candidacy for mayor different is that you look for solutions. You see the problems and you look for solutions. We're going to have to take a quick break. When we get back from the break, we're going to talk about some of the solutions that candidate for mayor of Las Cruces, Mike Tejas, would like to address as the leader of this city that is struggling so hard with the issues of substance abuse and mental health that's going unaddressed. For right now, I'm Pam Wolf. We'll be back right after these messages.
There you go.
So great, you do all these different gears to the plan.
Okay.
Nice.
Granite is here. We'll come to you to customize your kitchen and bathroom with beautiful countertops and cabinets. Find out more at horizongranite.com. Call us at 575-650-3180.
Horizon Granite is here.
It's here.
Make yourself a beautiful home.
Hi, I'm Ray Bamberg with Here on Earth. I would like to invite you for a free hearing evaluation to our office. We've been here in southern New Mexico for 34 years helping people hear better.
Welcome back to A Vision for Las Cruces with candidate for mayor Mike Tejas. I'm Pam Wolf, and today we've been talking about a critically serious issue that people in Las Cruces are having to deal with that crosses economic lines, it crosses racial lines, it crosses every line, and that's the issue of mental health problems gone unaddressed and drug problems gone unaddressed. We've talked about the problem. Mike, talk to us about the solutions.
You know, Pam, we met in April of last April, and we put this group together. When Tanya came on board and we heard that heartbreaking story, she said, I'm looking for a place to talk about it, and I want to do something about it. So Tanya said, I would like to have a coping with grief forum here at the Dream Center and work with people that have gone through what I've gone through and help them find peace and find a life after this grief. And so she has come up with, she has a program. It's on Thursday nights. It starts November 7th. It'll be at 5:30 at the Dream Center. I urge you all to please go in there. If you're living this nightmare, please go in and sit down with Tanya and start talking about it. That's the only way you're going to help get out of that nightmare.
What's the city going to do?
What we're going to do, I got tired of there not being a solution. I'm hearing too many of these stories. I believe a long-term facility to deal with mental health and substance abuse is absolutely, positively must happen. We cannot say we'll put it off to another time. We cannot ignore it. We can't put Band-Aids all over them with short-term. We need a long-term facility. I spoke to the president, CEO of La Clinica about it, and I said, I need answers. What can we do? Can this happen? We have the property at Three Crosses. We have billions of dollars in grants. Can we raise them? If we could raise the money, if the city of Las Cruces, if I, as your mayor, would sit at that table, I would go to the chancellor of the university, the superintendent of schools, the head of economic development, and we together would start filling out grants to fund this facility, state-of-the-art facility for long-term treatment. What would you do? He said it'd be a dream. That'd be a dream if that could happen. That substance abuse and mental health, it affects crime, the education. You know, we have a lot of good teachers out there. You know, it's unfair that our teachers keep fighting this mental health issue, this substance abuse issue. They're fighting it and trying to teach people at the same time. That is so unfair to our teachers. They need help. We need to get in there and get this facility and make it a reality. We can't wait. Our city, in the Telshore Fund, and that was from the proceeds of Memorial Medical Center. That money was earmarked for the health and well-being of the city residents. It is time for us to quit picking out of it and using it for other things and use it to take care of this problem. $44 million is sitting in that account. $300,000 a month just in interest is coming into that account. We're using it for other things, but we're not using it for what it's earmarked. That needs to be spent on what it's called for. We have spent hundreds of millions of dollars in our city for all these projects, from road diets to fountains downtown, to repaving Water Street in Las Cruces over and over and over for $6 million, to putting fancy circles in front of downtown, and we've done nothing to address the issue.
And it's an issue that affects every one of us.
Everybody in this city, from the farthest point east to the farthest point west, north, and south, we are all in it. Every one of us are affected. And I'm going to tell something to people who don't think it is. It's coming to a house near you soon.
Boy, you know, Mike, my heart just cringes when you say that, because in the last 3 months, I personally am aware of 3 teenagers who have attempted suicide.
Well,
It's a serious
oh
problem.
God, it's heartbreaking. When I heard Tanya's story, it made me cry. And right now, it still brings tears to my eyes.
The drug use developed severe anxiety
Yes,
disorder
and
with my
all
son.
that,
And
and you know what? I'll tell you, it is there, and it's killing us right now.
And a lot of times we don't understand
No.
what is
No,
causing
we
the
don't know
erratic
what we're looking
behavior.
at. When Tanya started talking about her story, we were able to see, oh my God,
There's a
that could
pattern.
happen to any of us.
Yeah.
Because at 6:30 on Thursdays, we have an opiate forum for families to go in there and sit and talk about what are we going to do about our kids that have gotten caught up in this. And you know what? Every parent needs to know that we're there at 6:30 as a place you can go talk about it. But you know what? We are our lives have been taken over by this substance abuse problem. I'm going to tell you something. When you hear Tanya's story, understand something. When she talks about how the kids will get off it and then go a while off of it and relapse, you know what? I talked to several heroin users that were just hooked on it. You know why they go back on it? They reward themselves when they work for a while and they haven't done it. Says, I deserve a little reward. Just like people think, I deserve a beer after work. I deserve to go party on Friday night. I worked hard. I'm going to do a little bit. And what they do is they go back to what they were doing before, and that is what's causing this overdose. Then they get so messed up mentally because they can't get off that monster. You know what they said? They said it's a monster, and they said, Mike, it owns me.
Mike, we need to address that problem.
We do.
And the way that every one of us can address that problem, one way that we can address it is by going to the polls and voting for leadership for the city of Las Cruces that will take that issue seriously. Yes, there are a lot of issues that Las Cruces has, a lot of needs, but we are already into early voting. It's time for people to go to the polls and make a decision. What would you like to say, Mike, to the voters of Las Cruces about when they go to the polls and vote?
I'm asking for your vote November 5th. If you're early voting, I'm asking you for your vote. I'm asking you to call everybody you know. Ask them to vote for me. If they're not registered, please have them contact us and we'll show them what they can do to help us with this problem. I pledge one thing. That is going to be my priority. Get in there. While a mayor can't do a lot, but you know what a mayor can do? He can get people together who can do it. They've got influence to bring the group together, address that problem, and make that problem a priority. That will be one of my priorities and my number one priority. This is a heartbreak that I don't want to see anybody go through. It's a heartbreak that the judge does not want to see any. You know what the judge told me? I wish you could put me out of business. And I said, that's our goal, Judge. That's our goal.
Wow. That from your mouth to God's ears, as I think the old saying, because that's really the kind of priorities that city government needs to have.
Yes.
The ways to make our streets safer. Having beautiful streets is wonderful. Having safe streets is so much better. And we're really, really working on helping people understand that this is an issue that the city can address if it will address it. It's wonderful to have beautiful parks. but it's more important for us to have facilities in this area that will take care of young people and older people
Adults
as well.
also.
That's right, because there are so many people struggling. And once a person is addicted, it changes everything.
Oh, yes.
So we're asking our viewers today if they will make sure that they go out and vote. Bring your friends, bring your neighbors, let people know exactly what's going on in the city of Las Cruces. We don't have a huge circulation with our newspapers, so there are a lot of people who don't read the news in the paper. We don't even have a lot of news coming across the radio waves that's local, but this is important news for you to know. Be sure that you go and vote informed. If you want to get in touch with us, our Facebook page is Mike Tejas for Las Cruces Mayor. We'd love to hear from you. If somebody knocks on your door, welcome them and listen to what they have to say about Mike. If you'd like to help, we'd love to have some more people coming out and knocking on doors, because this is a person-to-person campaign, not a fly-from-the-sky campaign, but this is a person-to-person, on-the-street campaign that Mike is asking for your vote. If you've already committed to someone else, put Mike in as number 2. We'll be talking about ranked choice voting pretty soon. Next week, we've got a special guest coming. Marcy Dickerson is going to join us, Mike, and we're going to talk about some serious issues from taxation and bond issues right on into city corruption in Las Cruces. Join us then. I'm Pam Wolf with Mike Tejas, candidate for Las Cruces Mayor, and we'll see you next week.
I'm Mike Tejas, and I approve this message. Lisa Parrott, Treasurer.